Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first Lunch and Learn with Lily Anderson Messick as our co-host. Hey, Lily.
Hi,
How you doing?
good. How are you doing?
I got the booster yesterday, so I kind of feel like I got hit by a truck. So apologies for the whole look and the sound in the pre-recorded video because there might have been some sniffling.
Yeah,
So
I can relate. The when I got the booster, I was pretty knocked out for a day.
yeah. So I know that some people are aware that you're our third employee. Oh, well, I guess kind of second employee since our interim executive director is more of a contract position right now. But you were our third employee when Juliet was here. And so maybe people aren't too familiar with you.
Yes, so I live in Tallahassee. I'm from Tallahassee. I have been working with native plants for over a decade, and my position with FNPS is Director of North Florida Programs. A majority of my job, though, is working with Torreya taxifolia, which is a rare and endemic conifer tree that only occurs along the Apalachicola River and the steep head ravines along the Apalachicola River. And what I do at this time of year is survey for them on privately owned lands. And so I'm a little knocked out because I've been surveying for the past 3 days and I am sore. We had a big day yesterday. On days that we find a lot of trees, those are the best days because you're finding trees, but also you aren't hiking all day because you're stopping to take data nonstop and record everything about the tree and the habitat. And so yesterday we found two Torreya in the morning, but then we didn't find anything most of the day, and so we covered a lot of ground and we were just hiking nonstop and through lots of blackberry vines and dense, shrubs and up and down these very steep and slippery slopes. So it was, but then we found four more trees in the evening. So we found 6 trees total yesterday. On Wednesday, we found 14 trees. So that's a big deal. That's great
Whoa.
news. And then on Monday, or on Tuesday, I found 2 trees. So doing well this week.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is great. It feels really exciting to find each one. I'm still thrilled each time I do.
And so,
And all the trillium are up right now in the ravines. The trillium underwoodia is blooming. So that's always in each one of those, each individual of trillium has a slightly different pattern on its leaf. So it's always exciting to see them all. And I, have to take photos of them. And then the native azaleas are all budded and getting ready to bloom. And so that's exciting. And there's even still some fall color out there right now in some of the more protected areas. Yesterday I saw a sourwood tree in full fall color, and it turns this bright pinkish color, the leaves. So that was really lovely. It was a great day. I'm very lucky to get to explore these unique habitats. So yeah.
that's so cool. So you get to see, other rare plants in addition to just Torreya taxifolia. I mean, you're obviously on these really cool ravines. And,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, we've been on the Center for Plant Conservation. Like we just, was it last year we became a member?
Yeah. 2021.
2021. Yeah. So what does that mean for our future, like plant surveying and data collection and maybe even like seed collection?
Yeah, well, so yeah, hopefully we will be able to, and I think we should be able to collect rare plant seed for seed banking. And there are many species, as you and I know, because we've been attending the meetings. There are many species on the list that are in need of seed banking, and several of them occur in these ravines, like Taxus floridana, which is also like very similar to Torreya. It's in the same family, Taxaceae, but it's not federally listed, even though it's arguably more rare. than Torreya. It's at least as rare as Torreya. And so that species is definitely in need of conservation. So seed banking would be a great place to start with that one. And so I get to run into Taxus floridana. The common name is Florida yew. And so I'm very lucky to get to see those. I haven't seen any in the area that I've been in, but yeah.
Cool. So I had some rendering issues with the with the video, so I pre-recorded it, and so it just finished rendering. So I will just get that set up right now, and then we can go live in a second. Hold on, I don't know where I put the video file. There it is.
Well, I can keep talking about Torreya keepers if you want me to.
No, I think I got it. Let me
okay, good.
Let me make sure I got it. Welcome to our last Lunch and Learn in January. It is January 28th, 2022. Okay, so I've got it. So it's going to run. The video is about 17 minutes, guys. So just hang tight, and we'll be back for Q&A after it's done. So, and I have this connected as you'll see in the video. So if you guys have any questions, I can show you the equipment and the setup of OBS, which you'll learn about in the video at a bit more detail. So now we're going. Welcome to our last Lunch and Learn in January. It is January 28th, 2022. COVID-19 was isolated on January 7th, 2020. The first case came to the U.S. on January 13th, 2020. I started to work for the Florida Native Plant Society in September of 2018. So by this time, I had been an employee for over a year. So during this time, I was going to work as usual at home because we don't have an office. I was steeped in conference planning, filming a few videos, and trying to take charge of my personal life and physical health. But on January 28th, 2020, we had 261 subscribers to our YouTube channel and 4,660 members of the Florida Native Plant Society. In February, the conference committee was starting to get really nervous, February 2020, and by March, the committee decided to bump the conference to 2021, hoping the pandemic would be over by then. My first thought was to try to help our chapters move their meetings online. Our chapters are our main source of native plant programming. We have 34 chapters throughout the state. That number has varied over the past few years, but that's basically where we get all of our programming, where all of our members get most of their native plant education from, except for our one statewide program, which is the annual conference once a year, which we've been doing for 42 years now. So some chapters did make the leap early and successfully, but the tech learning curve for good virtual meetings is really high. And I became frustrated that not only was our only statewide program, the annual conference, canceled, but local chapters weren't able to hold their meetings, and particularly early on in the pandemic, even their field trips. So I'm the Director of Communications and Programming for the Florida Native Plant Society. The only programming that I was really involved in before the Lunch and Learns and after hours was the conference. And of course, we're not a very big organization, so that makes sense, but I was really feeling the loss of our programming. And so one of the things that complicated chapters, attempts to get on this, virtual meetings is, people were using Zoom, but, it was not super widely adopted by the general public. People weren't just going to Zoom meetings and stuff. I had been doing Google Meet for a while. We had a subscription to Google, to GoToMeeting, which was the Florida Native Plant Society's go-to, because we never had meetings over 150 people, and it worked fine. The interface was kind of clunky, and so chapters wanting to transition to virtual meetings, a lot of the members didn't have experience with that. And then further, when you're doing virtual meetings, early on, especially GoToMeeting did not have very good moderation. You couldn't bulk mute everyone. It was expensive, and we were paying a lot of money every year for this. And people were maybe thinking, chapter leaders were maybe thinking, hey, maybe this pandemic's going to go away. We'll just cancel everything and wait it out. Obviously, not the case. I coerced Juliet into presenting our first Lunch and Learn on April 24th, 2020, Companion Planting with Native Plants. So this is a meeting recorded on GoToMeeting and then later, February 12th, 2021, almost a year later, posted to YouTube, and I made it public at that time.
Decided to do this presentation because by popular request, we polled the audience on Facebook. We have
Okay, so there's Juliet. Obviously, she's speaking and she's presenting, and so I'm recording this GoToMeeting. People are on the GoToMeeting, and then I'm uploading it to YouTube. So you can see the immediate downside is you can't see the speaker, so it's just a presentation. Now, that's better than nothing, and I was pretty happy. So as many of us did, I thought the lockdowns and masking and eventual vaccines would succeed, and I would discontinue the Lunch and Learn programs at that point, or when I ran out of topics related to native plants, or ran out of people who were good enough to present to us. Instead, we're living in a world of booster shots, travel restrictions, and still no in-person annual conference in 2021 or 2022, this year. On the bright side, today we have 2,106 subscribers on our YouTube channel, compared to just over 200 2 years ago. And we have 5,592 members of the Florida Native Plant Society. That's dues-paying members, and 2 years ago we had 4,660. And including this Lunch and Learn, I have run 67 Lunch and Learns. Now that does not include the failures. So along this journey, I had no experience in live streaming. I, maybe did a Facebook Live, with my phone on selfie mode twice, back when Facebook was encouraging people to do that. But, this was very new to me. And so I tried to improve one thing every meeting. So if you go back and you look, you'll see, okay, the audio gets a little better. Oh, the audio gets worse because Valerie makes a mistake. Oh, the resolution is higher. Oh, the presenter looks better. So I was working on that, every single Lunch and Learn, I was trying to improve just one thing. So how do I do it? So how did we do it? Well, we started with what we have. I had an internet connection and a webcam right there. And so did Juliet. We had a GoToMeeting account, as I just mentioned. And so initially, I wanted to make this a member benefit. I required folks to actually register for the early Lunch and Learns using our CRM software, Civi CRM, so that we did not exceed our capacity, which we only had 150 people. This was an unwarranted concern sometimes, and then it exploded in my face. I restricted these FNPS members to emphasize the value of membership. And we also have ACRM, Civi CRM, and we can send emails to just members. So really the only way to fence off anything to just members is by email. That's our main, or mail, is we have the list of members, we have a database, and we can email them. So unlike similarly situated nonprofit membership organizations, our membership software doesn't currently allow members to log in to check to see when their membership expires or access content that may be restricted to members. We're working on that. It requires some upgrades. So my first hurdle was to fence off programs enough so that it would be hard for non-members to access the Lunch and Learns, but not so walled off that it was too hard for members to access. And early on, I got so many, hey, how do I get on the Lunch and Learns? I forgot to register. I can't find the email. So eventually, part of my solution to this problem was starting a members-only Facebook group. So only accepting members into the Facebook group, and then I could create an event that people could go back to, and they could also get notifications. That was another pro of starting to use YouTube instead of GoToMeeting. Now, of course, if we use the software that we were using, Civi CRM, and you registered for the Lunch and Learn, you would get an email notification. I could set up email notifications the night before or the morning of. Setting up the registration was labor intensive for me. I was still pretty new to, fiddling with everything in Civi. And so one of the major benefits of starting to use this software called Open Broadcaster software and use YouTube Live is that just like a Facebook Live or something, people would get like phone notifications right before it's about to start. And I could just provide a link to the presentation. And now these are unlisted videos. So let me show you what that looks like so you know. So here's, for example, is propagation and restoration of sandhill milkweed with Gabriel Campbell. So this was and still is a members only Lunch and Learn. Nobody else gets to watch it unless they can find the link somewhere or someone sends them the link. The first thing I did once I realized that GoToMeeting was not going to work particularly well and that I could only rely on it for so long, especially if we started growing our Lunch and Learn viewership. I contacted Ernest Calderon, the then marketing and media manager for Ideas for Us Orlando. He'd been live streaming their Hive meetings for some time, even live streaming from event venues, so using camera and stuff like that. So he directed me to use Open Broadcaster software, which I'll refer to as OBS, to stream a Zoom meeting on my screen to a platform of my choice. Now, they use Facebook Live, and there's no way I could wall off of Facebook Live to other people unless I did it only to the members-only Facebook group. So that just was not what I picked. So you can stream these to anywhere that OBS supports. So basically, the way live streaming works is you have some sort of screen capture, or this webcam is what you're seeing, or you have an audio, just audio only. You have a video on your computer. You can do just a PowerPoint presentation. You can do an image slideshow. There's a lot of options. And so what you can do is you take that and send that to somewhere that handles streaming videos on the internet. So for example, we can look at this stream option. This is the OBS settings panel. You can select the service, custom service, Twitch, that's primarily gaming, YouTube, that's what I use, Facebook Live, Restream.io, Twitter, or Show All. So look at all these. Cam 4, there's so many. Vimeo. So you may recall the disaster that was Karina Vaudry's first landscape design presentation on May 8th of 2020. I was running it from Susan Carr's house, and more than 150 people had gotten the GoToMeeting link because a lot of people were very interested and they'd emailed me. And so I skipped over registration for some people because they couldn't figure out how to register or whatever. Anyways, so that was really bad because people couldn't get in, and they were pretty angry that they couldn't get in. They were locked from getting in from seeing Karina. And then halfway through, the presentation just knocked off. So that was really bad. I got a lot of really unhappy emails from that situation. So I doubled down on my commitment to learn OBS, and I installed Zoom on my work computer. So that was May 8th. And then on May 15th, so that next week, I experimented with YouTube Live for my edible native plants talk. So it was my fourth Lunch and Learn. So I used OBS to arrange my camera next to my PowerPoint presentation. So let me show you what that looks like. So you can see I've put a background with our logo. And then on top of that, I put my camera here, which is just my webcam connected to my computer with a USB. And obviously I don't have any sort of lighting like I do now. And then next to it, I have arranged a PowerPoint presentation in presentation mode, which is basically my entire left screen. So to download Open Broadcaster software, just Google it. And its first thing comes up, obsproject.com. Click it. You can see it works for Windows, Mac OS 10.13 Plus, and Linux. So, if you're using it on Linux, you probably have a package manager, so you don't need to go to the website. But if you're running Linux, then you probably don't need me to tell you how to do this anyway. So you just download, and it's very easy to set up. So after my edible native plants presentation, I switched back to GoToMeeting for our next 4 lunch and learns, as I tried to learn how to use OBS on my own time. And so I did Ginny Stibbolt, Lily Anderson Messick, Martha Pissarro, and Marjorie Shropshire, all via GoToMeeting. So these next 4. So if you watch those, if you go back to the playlist, which is unlisted obviously because it's members only, and watch them, you'll notice that you can't see the speaker, and that's because I recorded it using the GoToMeeting recording feature. So you may remember another time I absolutely, totally bombed it on a lunch and learn. That was for Craig Hugel's presentation on June 19th. And so you can see chapter outreach with Ginny Stibbolt. My next one was going to be June 19th with Craig Hugel. And he had a Zoom account. It was landscaping for pollinators. People were really excited. I had advertised everywhere. And it was a near and total disaster. And so I committed myself to never using another organization's Zoom account, the person's Zoom account, and being in full control of the entire process. So I decided to redeem myself by immediately rescheduling his presentation to include an in-person filming of his yard, so doing a little yard tour. So I in-person filmed, I arrived at his house in the morning. So I arrived at his house in the morning, I in-person filmed his yard tour, and then I cut it. Like I sat in his house and edited it, and then I set up a screen facing him, my computer, and then I did the same thing like I did with my edible native plants presentation. I put Craig next to his presentation. I used my camera and what's called an HDMI converter. So what I have here is a long HDMI cable, and then I have an HDMI converter to USB. So what it does is I have an HDMI port in my camera. So what I have is I have a HDMI port in my camera, and I plug in the HDMI cable to the HDMI port. And then I plug the USB end to the computer. So Craig could see his presentation. I moved the slides for him because it had to be on my computer to show you guys the slides. And then you guys were seeing him present. I had the camera on a tripod close to him, and I had some lights that I had purchased. So that's why his presentation looks quite nice. So basically what I have is my computer, laptop in the middle, 2 screens, a screen on either side, a ring light with a USB webcam set up in the center, which is what you can see me from. And then on the left screen, you can see me filming. I have a Zoom meeting window where the participant shares their screen. And then in the center, I'm going to turn this off. I have my OBS set up here. You can see I have all of the scenes in the left. So that is how I switch from, say, a black screen when I start, to the FNPS intro. Or if I want to go and show the Zoom, you can see it is showing the Zoom presentation there. And then if I have a video,
hi, I'm Karina.
That'll stream a video file, and if I click on it, it'll show me how long the video has remaining.
Today we're talking to Mike.
So this is a Pine Lily chapter meeting that I streamed last night. And then if I want to show my webcam, it won't let me because it's already showing the webcam in Zoom. So the webcam will only do one thing at a time. And then if you notice the audio levels here, you'll see the green is bouncing. That is audio from my little Tascam recorder here that I have hooked in via USB. So I have a USB cable to a USB hub. And then I go here to Properties, and it has microphone to Tascam. So I can use the webcam. Oops, sorry. Okay, so I can use the webcam, or I can use the tiny built-in microphone, or I can use the Tascam, which is what I'm using. So it's actually pulling from these little microphones here, these two little movable microphones, or it has these cables here, XLR cables, that I could plug in and like use a lav mic, as you guys probably used to see. And then on the right here, this is where I have everything set up for YouTube. So you can see I'm not streaming anything yet. See, it says connect streaming software to start preview. No data. And then that's where your chats go in. And so basically, when I'm ready to go, I have the presenter there. Everybody's ready. I hit the start streaming under controls. So you can't see that because I'm currently recording, but I would hit this start streaming right here. And then this button here on YouTube, go live, turns red. And then that is when you see the magic happen. That's how I start a Lunch and Learn. Okay, and we're back. I hope everyone enjoyed that slightly shaky footage. Sorry, my muscles aren't what they should be. A little dexterity impacts with the booster. So we had a question in the chat about what model camera I'm using. This is probably the best sort of consumer grade DSLR for video, specifically for low light video, which is what I was planning on doing. Because when I first bought the camera, this was before the pandemic. So I purchased the camera because I was really concerned about conference recording. So I recorded our 2019 conference, which was my first conference working for the organization. And I recorded it on my old Panasonic, Lumix FZ. Anyways, really small sensor, and a lot of the footage is really grainy. I took interviews of members and I was really disappointed how they turned out. I didn't realize the importance of lighting and a nice sensor. Oh, it says my volume is too low. I can turn it up again. Okay, can you hear me guys now? Can you hear me now? Pretty well. So I don't know where I was going with that, with the volume thing. I got distracted.
The low light.
Low light. Okay, so this is a micro 4/3 camera. So basically there's full frame cameras, think like your Canon EOS and very expensive camera bodies, and they're heavy. So this, actually, the full camera body is pretty light. So I have a grip, which I just dropped. So I have a grip that holds an extra battery for the field trip filming. I never use there's controls on it. I never use them. And so the actual camera is like, just itself without the body is really light. And this is a Panasonic lens with power OIS. So my goal was, sorry, I touched the microphone, sorry. And so this is a macro lens. You keep in mind when purchasing a camera and you're not getting a full frame, you're not getting as wide of a picture. So say you want to take a photo of some really small orchids and you get a micro 4/3, you're not going to get quite the full macro zoom that you would. So this is a 1235. This is a 1235. So, obviously it zooms in and zooms out. Which has been very useful it's a very good interview camera. I think if you are going to upgrade, if you're doing this so that's one thing I did want to talk about as well, is if you're doing this for your chapter, like if you want your Zoom meetings to be better for your chapter, don't start with your camera. It's really, really, really expensive. So if you want to improve your chapter hybrid meetings and, you're trying to set something up, you can either work with your in-house sound system and somehow get your in-house sound system plugged into your computer, or you can get a lav mic, but make sure that the lav mic sends out a signal that the computer can use, and it doesn't need to have some sort of interpretive thing. So, for example, I have lav mics, and they have this connector, this XLR connector. Now, even if you had an XLR connector that connected to your computer couldn't hear the sound. you have to have this recorder to move the sound into digital land. So keep that in mind. You can get wireless ones. Those are more expensive, but they may be useful. Anyways, I'm going back and forth with a few different chapters about what they might need. So I'm happy to help you with personalization, but improving your audio quality and making sure that your Zoom participants can see the slides really clearly are the two most important factors for improving hybrid chapter meetings, if that's your goal. So while we're here, for example, if you look at, this is a Zoom window, so me and Lily are in a Zoom, as I was displaying, like on the left side on my left monitor. If you were to use an auxiliary microphone, you would click this up caret next to the mute here. And then you select the microphone. So right now, Lily is hearing me from the microphone on my webcam. So she's hearing a little more echoes than you guys are hearing, because you guys are hearing audio from this recorder and these two small microphones. And if I wanted Lily to hear audio from the tiny little microphone that's embedded in my computer, I would click the Realtek audio microphone. If I wanted her to hear audio from my camera, which I can do, I can use the digital audio interface cam mic. Let's see if it's working. Lily, anything?
It's just, that was really.
Oh, sorry. I'll switch you back. Okay, how's that?
Now it's good.
Okay, yeah. So, okay, so people would like a list of my equipment. I can provide that. How about I do a blog post? Okay, so we have a blog called fnpsblog.blogspot.com. I priced it all out for Tarflower Chapter, I went back and got where I bought it and everything and how much it cost, and sent that to Tarflower so they could improve their virtual and hybrid meetings, virtual and in-person meetings. And so what I'll do is I'll create a blog post and post that up there. And so Shelly asks if I can share what type of lav mic I use and where I bought it. So I bought you a lav mic, Lily.
Mm-hmm.
No, I bought you did I buy you a lav mic?
Yep, you did. I have one.
Okay, and I also got you an iPhone on camera.
With the dead cat, yeah.
With the dead cat. Can you talk about that while I go get my lav mics to show people?
Okay, I will try. I'll attempt.
Okay.
So the lav mic is one that has a little wire that with a little microphone that I can connect to like my shirt, and then a little packet that will connect at my waist. And then the one that connects directly to my iPhone, it plugs into the power cord lightning port on my iPhone, and it has a little microphone on it. And then it has what's called a dead cat, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's not actually a dead cat. It's a fluffy looking thing that goes over the microphone, which muffles any outside like noise. So it kind of quiets down the noise and directs the noise, or directs the sound to what is closest to it. Hopefully that was a good description. Not great at tech, so.
Okay. Yes, so this is my most expensive microphone. This is a Countryman Lav Mic. And so you can see it comes with a little case. That'll be included in the equipment list. It was, expensive, like over $100. It comes with, make sure if you're ever doing any filming outside, or you heard me into the microphone and that probably was not so fun to hear, I should have little dead cats on them. So these are windscreens. We call them dead cats because they look like dead cats. And so this lav mic is one that I don't specifically recommend for chapters trying to improve their hybrid meetings, because it's more complicated than you need. But if you're interested, this is a XLR connector. So for example, it would connect into the bottom here, and then you have the lav portion, and you put the little, you gotta find the hole for the windscreen. like this, and then you clip it on the speaker's chest. So in the case of your chapter meetings, what I would do is I would get one with a USB and make sure that it can go directly into your computer, and then get a USB extension cord for like $6. And then you'll have audio directly from the speaker. And then that will go right into your Zoom. And then you go into your Zoom meeting here, and then you'd select that microphone for your audience to hear. Now, of course, if you're going to do announcements, then you got to take the lav mic and put it on whoever's doing the announcements. Okay. Okay, and Suzanne is asking about the lighting. So you can see the difference in lighting between me and Lily. So I probably have a slightly nicer camera. This is an older model Logitech, one of their nicer webcams. It was, I mean, God, the thing is probably like 6 years old, but it was 1920 by 1080, which is the resolution like this. So widescreen, high resolution, what's considered HD, but without the lighting. So this is the ring light you saw in the video. Without the lighting, I don't look much better than Lily. So if you are, if you're looking to improve your hybrid chapter meetings, don't go for the camera. There are so many things you can do before you blow. I mean, this camera body is over $1,000. Lenses are usually $700. And then of course you have to have tripods, nice stable tripods. And you're just not going to get exactly what you want. Attacking the audio could be less than $100. Getting a ring light. There's ring lights for sale right now at B&H Photo and Video for $50. The same ring light. And the great thing about this ring light is not only is the actual amount of light variable, but the color of the light is variable. So I can get blue, I can get more red.
Neat.
Yeah, to match the lighting conditions in your room. Now, if you're in a ring light is not going to be ideal for a chapter meeting, because then you have a big bright ring in front of your speaker. Right? That's going to be very distracting for your in-person audience. So I don't necessarily have a very good recommendation for additional lighting, specifically for chapter meetings. I haven't, there are these little loom cubes. You can buy these little cubes and they could sit on the floor and you could tilt them up. But otherwise, a lot of lighting solutions are going to be either really expensive or they're going to be disruptive to your chapter meeting. So having good lighting there, nobody's going to go buy a spotlight for your chapter meetings. All right. I really thought people would have more questions for me. Come on, people. Oh, Shelley says, you'll love what we're cooking up for the annual conference. Okay, so one thing I didn't really talk about is that the pandemic was 2020 and we had to cancel the conference. I mean, I did not have these skills in order to, make the conference go smoothly. But if you attended 2021's conference, which, we did for all virtual, it turned out really, really good because of being able to do this and being able to hop on and off Zoom meetings and scheduling speakers and all this experience that I had. And so we'll be doing a virtual conference this year. Again, unfortunately, I was getting really excited to try and use my nice camera and maybe some additional lighting and getting maybe some TED Talk quality, conference presentations. But that is just not going to happen this year. We couldn't have it in person, which it takes a whole load off of me in terms of how much labor I have to do and preparation and uncertainty. For managing all of the in-person AV, but is a little less exciting. All right, well, if nobody has any questions, I guess I don't need to go on and on about this. What do you think, Lily?
Sounds good. Yeah.
All right. Well, talk about content. Okay. how did I choose topics? Let's see. So initially when I pitched the idea to Juliet, after I started to be kind of frustrated about having, I was trying to make guidance for chapters to move online, and, they were having such a hard time. And so I started talking to Juliet about it. So obviously I got Juliet, I got Kara, who we were helping Kara a bit with her research on Florida milkweed. Ginny volunteered for a chapter focus, improving your chapter outreach. And let's see. And then we asked our Facebook audience. We did a Facebook poll that I would have to find. But I'll show you this is my lunch and learn schedule, including, the ones that did not work. Let me make this a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I think asking your membership is a great way to, ask what people are interested in.
Yeah, so we asked people, what did they want? Gardening. Everybody wanted gardening and companion planting. And, people sent me emails. I had ideas for speakers that I wanted to have, and these are all sort of at the end here. And obviously plenty of ideas that I didn't use. So you can't see this, Lily, sorry about that. But yeah, I don't know. I cold called people. Initially what I did was, in order to get people to respond to my emails, I told presenters I would buy them a bottle of Ron de Barrilito, which is a rum from Puerto Rico. And that really got people to respond to my emails and say that they would do the lunch and learns. So that was a little bit pricey of a thing to do, but we got some really good speakers early on. And then it became, people really wanted to present to our lunch and learns because, we had a pretty big audience, and, they could have it public, and, it looked crisper than, if their organization was sending this out as a video. I don't know all the reasons why people presented, but I was providing post stats. So every week, I take a screenshot of all the statistics generated from each lunch and learn, how people came, how many new subscribers we got, how good the chat was, how you guys were chatting. And also at the end of the year for people like academics, I provide, because these lunch and learns, they stay online, right? You can go to the playlist. So people are watching these, especially the public ones. So, the ones that are unlisted, that are just members only, other than Craig's, don't get a lot of new views. So, but the ones that are public get tons and tons of views. And so I provide statistics whenever requested and at the end of the year to past presenters who may use them for reporting on their outreach activities. Let's see. Oh, Ginny asks if I'll be pre-recording presentations for the conference. And so I'll be pre-recording some conference presentations based on presenter desire, whether it's going to be a much better presentation if I do it live. So pre-recording Zoom is not very time consuming, right? I just sit here, I use OBS to record the presentation just like I recorded the presentation for you guys this morning. And then all I have to do is fix the audio, maybe do some color correction, chop, and then set it up. But if I have to do something like the Pam Adams Yard Tour, I have to plan it. What am I going to film? How am I going to mic her up? Do I have enough batteries? Is my camera going to die? Make sure everything's charged the night before. Drive there, set it up. Don't be a bad camera operator. Make sure her face is in focus the whole time. And then make sure I don't make any sort of major mistakes in the, uploading the files to my computer. And then sometimes I have to convert them if I film them in the wrong format. And then syncing the audio and video, depending on how I record it. I have so many options on how I get the audio. So I can record it on recorders. I can connect the recorder to the camera so it's auto synced using the mic. So I say I have this plugged in to an external battery. That's sort of my most common practice, is I'll take I have like these big external battery packs, the lithium ion, and then so you see how this is plugged into my computer right now as an audio interface. So what I do is I plug the USB cable into here, power it, not as an audio interface, but just as a just providing power to it. Plug say my this microphone, a lav mic, into the bottom, and then stuff everything in their pocket or put it at their feet, and then I have to clap and then sync the audio on my computer after. So I really only want to do that for like really stuff that's really going to look so much better if it's pre-recorded and it's really high resolution on like a nice camera, or somebody who's like really great outside. So hopefully I'll be able to film some virtual field trips, maybe with Lily. And I mean, one, that will be exceedingly fun. And then two, you guys will get to see parts of Florida that maybe you may never get the chance to see, or definitely won't get to see this year. And that will be worth the driving and the filming and the cutting. But if it's just you and a PowerPoint, you might as well do the over Zoom. I mean, that's not very exciting anyway. What are the resources I use to learn all of this? Okay, so I mentioned that Ernest helped me. He just told me what to do. But there is a YouTube channel called, I think, The Stream Guys. Let me see if I can find that. And my mouse has decided to not work, so that's why I'm awkwardly... Stream Geeks. Okay, so here I will go over to, so this is our FNPS subscriptions page, what we subscribe to. And so you see, so you subscribe to the Wildlife Foundation Florida. But this page called Stream Geeks, you see OBS Super User Guidebook, latest updates. They basically do kind of what I did and just walk you right through exactly what to do. Plug the camera in here, check this thing, press this gear button, add this thing here. And it's pretty impressive because, these guys, they started out as like church streamers. So OBS is used by like PBS stations, small PBS stations. It's used by churches specifically, to manage all these cameras. I mean, if you're like a mega church, then, you have like big boards and expensive software. But, for the smaller churches, they use this exact same software that I'm using to, cut from one thing to another and use the different audio feeds. If there's like audience participation, you can just switch back and forth, and all you have to have is a computer. So it's very useful for that. Now, obviously my limitation is I just have this, as I showed you, if I was to run multiple cameras, I would be really in trouble because I really only have so many USB ports. So I would have to like unplug this camera and like plug in another camera if I wanted to show like an audience angle and then like say the presenter. So I could, what I really should have if I was going to run like a hybrid conference, there's like these little boards that you plug in all your video inputs and audio inputs to, and then you can just do the switching from there instead of using software switching. And so yes, so Barbara asked if I could include these resources in the blog post. Certainly, yes, I can do that. Barbara Wertz also asked, do I give any speakers any guidelines on how to make a presentation? That depends on how much faith I have in the speakers. Like, you kind of get an idea from their emails as to whether or not they're gonna like blow it. Early on, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think in general, you probably want to choose speakers who are used to giving presentations. I mean, I think a lot of people in our field are used to giving presentations because they're in education in some form.
And it is kind of different to be, presenting into the abyss, right? So this particular kind of presentation, it's just me and Lily on the Zoom. I'm just telling Lily what you guys are saying in the chat. So if you're a presenter and you're really dependent on audience feedback, you don't get any in my lunch and learn setup. Now, if you're a chapter, and I recommend this for chapters, I don't recommend this particular thing for chapters because it's not very personal. I think Zoom meetings are more appropriate for chapters.
I think it depends on the style of the presenter, but I do think personally, I mean, I prefer with especially virtual presentations, I prefer to give the presentation and then have questions and interactions at the end. Otherwise, I mean, even when I'm in person, that's what I prefer as well, because otherwise I, get off topic and start talking about something that I'll end up talking about if I had just continued through the presentation, and then I might skip something or move through too quickly on one part. So I prefer, I think I give better presentations when I give the entire presentation with a, thought out process, and then I interact and have the back and forth at the end.
Yes, and that's a mistake I made early on as well that I didn't point out, is that I would let the presenters take Q&A whenever. That was kind of chaotic. And so
it
now,
gets chaotic.
Yeah, so now I do it just like me and Lily did. Intro, hello, presentation, and Q&A at the end. And I coach presenters on how to do that. Now with the conference, everything is so much tighter, right? Because I have to be on the Zoom presentation, check everything, hit the start streaming button. It has to go to YouTube. It has to go from YouTube. Huva has to pick up the YouTube live stream, and then everybody's good. And then obviously with the conference, we have, presentations back. So, and I only have one Zoom. I mean, you can only run one Zoom meeting on a computer at a time. So in that case, I have calendar invites with a little mini show flow, exactly what minute you're supposed to be on the Zoom meeting, exactly what minute you're supposed to be done with your intro, and what minute we're starting the Q&A. And I was like, because I was not having, bleed overs and, say a presenter couldn't get into the Zoom and then they gave up and then they were angrily calling me. Yeah, I was not going to have any of that. But I don't do that to like our lunch and learn presenters. Oh, Teresa is asking about upcoming lunch and learns. So Lily will be our new moderator. You may still see me, but I'm hoping to, transition to her being the face of the lunch and learn so I can concentrate just on the tech stuff. And so she'll be doing the intro for Christine Krebs, who is with the Center for Aquatic and Invasive Plants, who will be doing a very broad overview of invasive species in Florida. So that should be pretty interesting. And then Lily will be managing the Q&A in a new way that I haven't tried before. So
we'll see how it goes. But I'm sure Christine will give an excellent presentation, and that is definitely a topic that I think so many people are interested in. And one thing on the topic of topics for your presentation, I like to think about, what do I want to learn about? What am I interested in? Because it's probably stuff that other members are interested in as well. And then often, there's an overview for a topic like invasive plants, and then you can parse out specifics. So you might have a presenter like Christine might give a great overview presentation about invasive plants, but then you might be able to have her back to give a specific, Kogan grass or a hydrilla presentation. And so that's another just thing to think about as far as topics. There are broad topics and then very niche topics. And I think our membership appreciates both, because we have a lot of people who are new members who might not know what an invasive plant is. And then we have a lot of people who, already know the basics of invasive plants and want to know specifically about hydrilla or Brazilian pepper or something.
Yes, just based on audience data, y'all love landscaping. Anything I do about landscaping, way more views, way more interest, way more questions. So I was really interested. I was going after researchers that were doing, just genus level efforts. And, we had the Dice Rander, we had The lobelia presentation. Ooh, that lobelia presentation was really, really good. And if you have not seen that, go to the last email I sent, and then go to the FNPS all Lunch and Learn playlist, which has the 67 Lunch and Learns, and then scroll till you get to lobelia presentation. It's I took all the lobelias and I outlined them, so there's like lobelias on the top. It's all the species of lobelias in Florida, so it's like really colorful because they're purple and red and white. That's how you can identify that presentation. All right, yes, okay, so, and where can I find the list of the equipment? Okay, so I will do that right now. As soon as I get off, I'll go to our FNPS blog, I'll post a list of equipment, link to the Stream Guys website, link to OBS, how to download. All right. Suzanne says, others of us want to know about plant conservation, habitat restoration on public and private lands, conservation trusts, and endangered native species.
Those are all great topics.
Great
and then
topics.
there are niche topics within all of those topics. So
Yes, and just because the science topics are not as heavily watched doesn't mean I'm going to stop streaming them.
oh yeah, they're very important.
They're really important. I mean, you guys, we can talk about, gardening with the most common natives, and I can keep doing presentations that kind of explore additional native gardening topics, but yeah, we're not going to stop talking about our rare habitat work, our rare plant work, and, our restoration work and other people's restoration work. So if you have any speaker ideas or topic ideas, I do have that list. I take every suggestion. I put it on that list. So please feel free to email me or Lily, the new face of FNPS Lunch and Learns.
The new co-host, I would say.
All right. So without further ado, I will end this Lunch and Learn. I hope everybody has a absolutely fantastic Friday and weekend, and we'll see you next week for a broad overview on invasive plants in Florida.